Welcome to PodcastOne. We hope you'll support our sponsors who bring you these podcasts absolutely free and with limited interruptions. And of course, we appreciate you listening to this show, which will get started in just a second.
The Steve Austin Show Unleashed podcast is sponsored in part this week by DDP Yoga. If you've heard this podcast before, you know how much I love to talk about DDP Yoga. Hell, it's helped so many damn people from all walks of life. It can work for you too. If you haven't, head over to ddpyoga.com/Austin to check it out. DDP Yoga. Ain't no actors, ain't no models. It's just real people with real transformations. For instance, check out Jared Mollenkoff, who DDP met on the streets of Utah. Shit. Jared had lost 190 pounds in 8 months doing DDP Yoga. And then, fast forward 9 months later, and Jared's lost 313 pounds. DDP Yoga can work for all ages, weights, and fitness levels. It provides a kick-ass cardio workout with minimal joint impact, and I dig that. So don't wait. Go to ddpyoga.com/Austin and check out the sale going on right now for the listeners of Steve Austin Show Unleashed. There's also the DDP Yoga Now app for working out on the go, available on Apple and Android devices. Once again, take your ass to ddpyoga.com/Austin and be on your way to not only changing your life, but owning that sumbitch.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're gonna take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. I'm over here at 317 Union Street. And I'll be goddamned if I hadn't been joined by a special guest, my black Labrador retriever, Callie. Son of a bitch. Callie's about 7 months old right now. She's laying on her side and sleeping like a baby, right underneath my podcast table. I tell you what, man, ever since we had to say goodbye to Hershey the Wonder Dog, my prized chocolate lab that I love to death, riding around on the mean streets of Los Angeles in the Ford Bronco, fighting crime, I miss that dog. And, I thought Moolah may be next in line because she's 5 years old and she would want to kind of, end up taking Hershey's place, so to speak. Not in my heart, but by my side. But Moolah's kind of a mama's girl. And so every time I come over here to do my podcast, Callie comes with me. Every time I come over here to get my weight workout and my cardio in, Callie comes over here and lays on the floor beside me. So she might be my new sidekick. Maybe one of these days I'll be telling you guys stories about me and Callie riding around in my Ford Bronco fighting crime on the mean streets of Los Angeles, California. I used to do that with Hershey the Wonder Dog, so Hershey had that damn nickname. I got to come up with a nickname for Callie. So that's going to be my mission right now. Turns out my wife just took Callie to the veterinarian yesterday, and she had some shots she had to get. And upon some diagnostic work and some examination, found out that Callie had a goddamn tapeworm inside of her. So I don't know what the fuck you do for a tapeworm, but the vet did, and he gave her a shot, some kind of injection. I guess that's going to kill the fucking tapeworm. I tell you what, Tapeworm 316 says, I just whipped your fucking ass, you sorry-ass tapeworm. Living inside my dog's intestine, robbing it of its nutrition. Food that I buy, put in a bowl, put on the ground for these dogs to eat, and the tapeworm's in there trying to skim off the top. Basically, you skimming out of my billfold, off my credit card, off my bank account, tapeworm, when you're eating something out of my dog's intestines. I didn't buy that dog food for you to feast upon. So the vet gave Callie a shot. The tapeworm is now dead. There will be no funeral, no services. We ain't going to get the tapeworm cremated, buried, no kind of nothing. The motherfucker's gone. God damn it. If there's one thing I can't stand is a sorry-ass, freeloading tapeworm trying to mooch off my dog. Anyway, Callie's sleeping peacefully. I guess there's no, I don't know how my damn wife found out, or the vet found out that some bitch had a tapeworm, but nonetheless, she's sleeping like a baby. Tapeworm free. Shit. Hey man, I tell you what, Broken Skull Challenge debuted season premiere on CMT on Tuesday night. Goddamn, it was great to see that damn show back on TV. I don't know how you segue from a black lab with a tapeworm in his ass to a television show, but it seems I have done that. Broken Skull Challenge is back on CMT every single Tuesday night, 10 p.m., 9 Central. The first damn episode was badass. Wait till you see the rest of the season. Wait till you see the women come out, and wait till you see what the guys and the women do throughout the course of the season. This thing is off the charts. I'm proud of it. Went and made the rounds, did all the publicity for it, went by the Facebook headquarters the other day in Playa Vista, right across the street from where Diamond Dallas Page used to live. And that's where I lived for about 6 months when I first came out to L.A., when I was living with DDP in his condo. And you talk about a goddamn train wreck. It was like the odd couple, because Dallas was the neat freak and I was the slob. And that sumbitch had every single thing in line, in order, straight up. And you walked in my room and you thought a hurricane and a tornado had torn through there. And I tell you what, that's when I first came to L.A., and that's kind of when I was, I was still drinking plenty, drinking a lot of damn vodka. I'd be sitting on the couch, sun had went down, and I'd be having a cold damn cocktail in my hand, and Dallas would be heading out on the streets of L.A. for an evening out on the town, hanging with his friends, doing whatever he was doing. He goes, "Bro, you want to go with me?" I said, "No, I'm good, man." So I just hang there and drink. And I was telling David Clark, my guest on the podcast today, he was a guest last Tuesday, and what a goddamn story that is, that guy's life. Dude came up, kind of a hard background, and then was working away in life. Family, wife, kids, the whole thing, good job, started blowing things, messing things up, getting ahead, then getting behind, and finding himself just a full-blown raging alcoholic. I thought I drank a little bit back in the day. I thought I was in, I wasn't in a bad way. There's a couple people might have thought I needed to get some help. I never thought I did. I wasn't nowhere near where David Clark ended up, but I tell you what, he joins me on the podcast today. Part 2 of our discussion. We're talking a little bit about long-distance racing, 100-mile races, 135-mile races, running at altitude, running in the heat across Death Valley. What a story this guy tells, and what a very deep, unique individual when you talk to him in person. The dude is so well-spoken, articulate, and eloquent. The way he tees everything up and frames up and goes through his thoughts on life is pretty damn cool. Real intelligent guy. I still got his book in my hand, and I still highly recommend it. Out There, A Story of Ultra Recovery. And it's a journey of his life. I enjoyed the living shit out of it. And I'll tell you what, he just sent me a text message the other day. And this book is also available on Amazon.com. And this book is also available at Audible.com. You can get the audio version. If you don't like to read, if you're riding down the road, you can get it read to you. But check it out. It's a book I highly recommend. Like I said on the Tuesday show, whether you got an addiction problem, you're heavy, you need a good swift kick in the ass, you need some motivation, whatever, it's just a damn good book. And it's funny, been out there promoting Broken Skull Challenge, and I posted a picture on Instagram and on my Twitter account, Steve Austin BSR, and people were saying, "Hey man, you're looking pretty lean." And I am lean. I'm a lot leaner than I have been. Weighing about 242, 243. And one of the reasons I'm lean, the keto diet helped. I think I could have used any kind of diet to get to where I am, but I used the keto approach. And I'm going to talk in depth about the keto diet with the guy that helped me coming up on a podcast very, very soon. I'm going to get all of my notes organized, my timeline and my stats, my eating program. So I'm going to cover that on the podcast real soon. But going back to what David Clark said in his book, when he started running, and when he started taking a total inventory and assessing what he was putting in his body, he had to eat like an athlete. He couldn't just start, fuel his body with garbage. He knew he needed to clean that up. And in effect, that's exactly what I did. I was watching what I was eating, but the key thing was, I was thinking, okay, I've got to stick to this diet. I must be 100% consistent. And if I want to drink that beer or have that glass of whiskey, is that drink going to take me a step closer to my goal or a step away from my goal? And so that was my approach with respect to giving a glass of beer or a glass of whiskey the Heisman Stiff Arm. I had to think, like David says in the book, like an athlete. I had to think, well, David was undertaking the sport of running to get himself in shape. He wanted to be a runner. That was what he set his sights on. I'm living life. I'm lifting weights. I make a living with my body. I need to put things in my body that are going to make it function like I want it to look. So if I want it to look right, I need to eat what's on the page given to me by my nutrition coach that I hired to help me out and get me in the right direction, because I was all over the place when I was reading the internet and trying to put together a standard ketogenic diet. Ended up with a modified ketogenic diet, and once I did that, I did not stray from that path. So I kind of took a page out of David Clark's book, so to speak, and no pun intended, but what he's saying in this book, and why I recommend this book to anybody, whether you have a drug problem, an alcohol problem, an eating problem, or whatever, he really breaks down and puts a lot of things into common sense that, you just kind of want to, knock on your head and go like, hello, McFly, you didn't get this all along? Because I've been on diets in the past, and, I think, okay, I'm doing, most of it right. I'm doing my cardio, I'm working out. So I can have 3 beers a night and still lose weight. Or I can have, 3 or 4 drinks, 3 or 4 whiskeys, or 2 margaritas and get away with it. Nah, man. Maybe if you have better genetics than me, you can. But if you're living in my body and you have my genetics, no, you can't. So I straightened my shit out, just like David Clark did in his book. Anyway, I just want to say I enjoyed talking to him. I took a lot from his book and put a lot of perspective into what he said in his book and how kind of it applied to me. But I hope you enjoyed today's conversation with him. We're talking a little bit more about long-distance running, Badwater 135, Leadville 100, shit like that. Very interesting guy. I recommend the book highly, very highly. I'm going to read it again if I can take all the dog-eared pages out of it. And I'm looking forward to reading a couple of the books that he recommended to me. Anyway, David Clark is coming up. I'm fixing to get in my automobile and take me a little trip with my wife and my dogs. I'm looking forward to doing that. I've been talking about spending a little bit more time with my wife and my dogs, and we're going to take us a little vacation. I don't know what kind of vacation it's going to be. Actually, we're not taking a vacation. We're basically going about 100 miles down the road. Anyway, enough about that shit. I'll tell you when I get there and tell you how it goes. But before we get to David Clark, I got to give some big ups to TrueCar. When you're looking to buy a new car, you want to feel comfortable that you're getting a fair price. With TrueCar, you can get information that empowers you with price and context and lets you see what other people in your area paid for the car you want. And it's pricing you'll see before going to a dealership, so you can feel confident when you show up. And with TrueCar, you can connect with a local certified dealer of your choosing. When you're ready to buy a new car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a more confident car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states. Coming right back with David Clark.
My name is Raven, professional wrestling superstar, raconteur extraordinaire, and master of the lambada, the forbidden dance. Come join me and my sidekick Busby for a live podcast of The Raven Effect. Yes, sirree, The Raven Effect, my podcast with Busby. That's live on Thursday, October 5th at 9:30 as part of the LA Podcast Festival Preview Night at the Hollywood Improv. Come join us for this most momentous occasion. Tickets are just $15. That's it? I think we should charge more. Anyway, they're available at hollywood.improv.com. hollywood.improv.com. Again, it's The Raven Effect live. Easy for you to say. At the Hollywood Improv on Thursday, October 5th at 9:30 p.m. Go to hollywood.improv.com for tickets and a free cookie. What, there's no free cookie? Oh, well, quote the Raven, nevermore.
This is Steve Austin on Unleashed.
Talking to David Clark. You listen to podcasts, you know that I normally talk about all kinds of bullshit. This time I'm talking about a world that I have no knowledge of, ultra running. Well, I'm talking about things that I do know of, bad eating and a lot of drinking and just regaining control. But we want to talk now about long distance running. God dang, dude. I watched Running on the Sun. I was reading about the Badwater 135, the Leadville 100, the Western States 100. I was reading about a lot of them. And, you know, Pat Miletich was telling me he was trying to train for the Leadville 100 and the amazing story behind that. As I'm watching the Badwater 135, 135-mile journey, it's like you said, start below sea level, end up way high. What do you do to prepare for that from a physical and mental standpoint? Because you never can train, 135 miles. So, start running 135 miles. It's days at a time. What do you do? Is from footwear to nutrition to, as far as the liquids go and the food, the whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
What does it take?
It's interesting because, that is the attraction to ultra running, is that there is no set way to do it. You know what I mean? Like if you're training for a marathon or to play football or whatever it is, there's a book for that, right? You have coaches, you have different philosophies, but there's kind of a set practice for doing it. And exactly like you said, I can't run 135 miles or even 100 miles or even 70 miles to train to go 100 because you just break down. So the best description I can come up with is it's like training for a car wreck. Like all you can do is show up in the best shape you can.
Right.
Nail your nutrition, stay hydrated, do the things that you know you can do, and see what the fuck happens. But you're there to experience the unknown. Like you're not in a 100-mile race to have it go according to plan. You're there to see exactly what happens when it all falls apart. I love Mike Tyson's quote, like everybody has a plan to get punched in the face. Well, the plan in ultra running is like kind of to get punched in the face and then scramble,
right?
And you never know. Like, I've run Leadville 7 separate times, and each one has been incredibly different. But that's why you're there. The thing about ultra running, unlike anything else, is that routinely you could win a race, have a champion of a race, not finish it the next year. That'd be like the Patriots winning the Super Bowl and then not being able to play a game.
Right.
It doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Like they don't finish, So because of that, it sets up this element of failure that it's always there. It's perpetually there. And you're going to run out of whatever it is you bring, right? Like, there's always the question, it's obviously a very mental sport. It's mentally, it takes mental toughness to do this stuff. You have to have physical toughness too. It's not easy on the body to run 100 miles. But so everyone always likes to talk about whether is it all mental? Is it all physical? And everyone has their own kind of cliche about that, right? My take on it is that doing ultra marathon running it's 100% spiritual. Because you're going to find the end of your physical toughness. You're going to get to mile 40 or 50 or 60 and not be able to stand up. Your legs are going to fail. Your feet are going to be hamburger. You're going to be experiencing severe pain. You're going to hit the end of that. And you're also going to hit the end of your mental toughness. You're going to reach a point where you crack and you go, I don't want this. I can't make it. It's not my day. And you're going to have to confront that part of you too. And it's going to have to be something bigger than mental and physical toughness that carries you forward. And I think that's the spirit. There has to be something that causes you to stand up and move forward even when you don't think you can finish. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Along the way, with everything that you must do, with everything you're putting out, what are you taking in? Because I was watching, the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There's different concoctions of powders, which they wouldn't divulge their secrets, on film. Yeah. So, what is it with the electrolytes, or what the fuck is it?
Yeah, so,
or what's your method anyway?
Yeah, I can tell you mine, and I know, lots of other guys have different options. You're going to find all kinds of varying opinions on this. But basically, because because the body's going to go places it's never been before, you're going to have to find what works for you. And understanding that once you find what works for you, it isn't always going to work for you. You know, you're going to find like, okay, eating 200 calories every hour and 20 ounces of fluid works. And then one day you're going to go out there and it doesn't fucking work. Your stomach shuts down and you're vomiting and you can't take calories in and you're going to have to figure it out. You know, but for me, I tend to, I've been all over the place over the years. I've tried gels and sport drinks and electrolyte drinks. And now I keep it simple. I drink pure water. I take salt tablets and then I always pick 5 foods, which are like fruit, peanut butter, pretzel nuggets, because those have like some protein and some fat and some salt in them. Coca-Cola, mashed potatoes, and oatmeal, like those foods. And my only goal is to, through whatever combination, get 200 calories in every hour. That's my goal. I'm not going to execute that perfectly every time, but that gives me the framework. Because in running 100 miles, if you're not eating, you're quitting.
Right.
You can't do it on, guts and willpower. Your body needs the fuel. So that becomes the game because you don't want to eat. In fact, you want to do anything other than eat, but you have to force yourself to eat. You gotta get it in. And it's very much about fueling now. The real strategy behind these things is trying to figure out that ever changing puzzle.
I was thinking like, okay, if you finish the Leadville 100 3 times in a row, well, sure enough, if you're in it the 4th time, you're going to finish. But it's almost like, well, to your point about the Patriots, if you're doing the Brickyard 500, hey, just because you were in the race doesn't mean you're going to finish the race next year because shit happens.
That's a great example.
The same thing happens, just on an individual level.
Yeah.
Was it the first journey at Leadville? You had a global meltdown.
I've had lots of global meltdowns.
you weren't going to make it, or you thought you were about to go belly up, but I think you gritted it up and you ended up making it. But at a physiological level, what happens? Like with the stomach, when you're not up taking any fluids, the people are puking on the side of the road. When I watched Running on the Sun, the one Marine guy, he's dehydrated, and if you take any fluids, you're disqualified. Just the litany of different things that can happen, and your feet, like Marshall when he had his toenails removed.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing that's happened? What is the worst thing that's happened to you in a race?
Yeah. So 2015 Badwater. I showed up for that race. Real quick before I go into that, like all of those things that happen, like during an ultra race, like usually it's not the physical things that unwind you; it's the mental things. Like I did Leadville 7 times. I didn't finish it this year. It's my first time not finishing that race. And every ultra runner, no matter how tough we want to think we are, we have weak moments. And it's amazing that you can have one weak moment and you find yourself getting a ride back in the car and you're wondering, what the fuck just happened? Why am I not out here still running? I could have done this. I could have figured it out. You know what I mean? But you have to understand that you are human and that's going to happen. And I'll tell you, at 2015 Badwater, I had this period of like 2013, 14, where I had set an American record. I'd won a couple races. I never expected to be good at this. You know what I mean? Like it was just a seeking thing. But it was kind of a very cognitive decision to be good at it. Like I was doing it and I was kind of, just your average kind of ultra runner. There's such a thing, but I had kind of like painted myself in that corner. Like, this is who I am. I'm just a finisher. I'm not going to be with the elite guys. I'm not trying to win. And then I was like, well, I don't like that. Like, why am I assuming mediocrity? I did that my whole life. You know what I mean? As a 300-pound alcoholic, I did that. So I'm like, well, maybe I can be faster, or maybe I can't be. But either way, I'm going to go out and let it happen. So the second time I went to do Leadville, I did it 5 hours faster. I started winning some races, started doing well. And, I started putting a little bit of pressure on myself, that comes with that. And anyway, I had 2 massive DNFs right on top of each other. One was at the Hard Rock 100 and then at Badwater. And Badwater's one of the most near and dear races to my heart. So I was feeling really emotionally beat up, and that failure, I'm sure you've had to have those times in your career where it just makes you question everything, and so I was there and I went out to Badwater and I really wanted to redeem myself, and instead what happened, I was in shape, really good shape, was thinking I could probably not win it, but I could probably pull out a top 5 finish, which would have been really something in the ultra world to do it at that race with that level of competition. And instead what happened in the first 2 hours of the race, by mile 17 of this 135-mile race, I was in the medical tent. I'd lost 10 pounds in the first couple hours of the race, and I was literally falling onto the ground. So I'd start running, and all of a sudden my body would just lower itself to the ground. And I would fall down onto the ground, and my crew's like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I can't stop myself from falling. And it was because of the extreme heat. And so I'd get back up and I'd run. Excuse me. I'd get back up and I'd run and then I'd fall down. And I'd get back up and I'd run for a while and I'd fall down. And of course my mind's just going crazy. I'm like, what is going on? And, I still have 120 miles to run in this race. So obviously the demons start coming out and they're telling me, you're not going to make this. You're not going to make this. And I decided I believed them, right? I argued and battled my demons before, but in this one, I'm like, you're right. All I need to do is get far enough down the road that my failure here is acceptable. I can't quit at mile 17. I got to get far enough down the road to get some.
Got to qualify it, if you will.
I got to, leave with some measure of my manhood. Yeah. And it's funny, my friend Nico, who's paced me, we get pacers in these things that help you, stay on course and help make sure you're drinking. He came out to run with me, knowing what my goals were for the race. And at the 50-mile checkpoint, which is where I figured I'd drop, he watched everybody come through and know me. So I was in dead last place at mile 50. Everyone that was behind me dropped out of the race. I was pulling up last place, hoping for top 5, dead last. And I started hallucinating. And I'd heard about this happening in ultra running before, but I never had, I had little things, like you look at a cactus and it looks like a bunny or something, but I started hallucinating. Like the white line on the road was spinning around and it grew a mouth. His name was Desmond. He was talking to me. He was telling me all kinds of dark stuff. Like, you can't finish this race. You don't belong in this race course. You're just an addict. These are the best athletes in the world. Go home. Don't ever come back here again. You don't deserve to be here. And it was really dark. And it caused me to question everything about myself during a race. And the physical pain was just unbearable. I could barely run. I could barely move. My feet were chewed up. My mind was going crazy. And I had no real idea. Like you mentioned my comeback at Leadville. I kind of fall apart and come back to life. It's my life story. It's my run story. Yeah. It's just the way it works. I don't know why. But in this race, I wasn't coming back to life. And I kept hoping, waiting for that miracle. And if I just stick it out a little longer, I'm gonna figure this out. And in a way that kind of happened at mile 70, the race director came out and told me to quit. It's just it's not your day, Dave. Every past champion has DNF'd here. No harm, no foul. And I told him, I was like, do I have to give you an answer now? He's like, yeah, you have to give me an answer now. Are you in or are you out? Because you're missing the next cutoff. And I put my hand, I reached over to put my hand on his shoulder with every intention of saying, okay, I'm out. And instead I said, see you on Whitney. And I was fucking pissed at myself. I mean, I was like, what kind of macho bravado bullshit was that? You were out, dude. You were out. You had it in place. And the reason that ended up happening, I think, is because at one point I have this really honest relationship with Nico, because you got to be really honest with yourself and your crew out there. And I told him, I was like, man, I'm telling you, I'm thinking about quitting. It's just, I think I'm going to quit, and I think I need to. I think my body's just shutting down. That's okay, right? And he's like, yeah, of course that's okay. You're a human being, man. He's like, but are you going to be okay with that? And I said, fuck no. No. In fact, when I got into the car at Badwater last year, I would have written a check for $50,000 to get back in the race.
Right.
So shit, I may as well stay here. And that's why I did that with Chris. Then I kept going. And then there was this moment, like we finished, Badwater is not a flat race. There's like all these hills. And we just finished climbing up to the top of this mountain on Father Crowley. So you go from negative 283 to 5,000 feet.
Is that the 18-mile stretch?
Yep. And then you drop down to sea level again. And then you go back up to 5,000 feet. And then you go up to 9,000 feet to finish. But I rallied. I had this moment where there's a downhill section that's about 9 miles long. I ran this 9-mile section in less than an hour. And this was about 70 plus miles into the race. So my legs came back. My crew couldn't even run with me anymore. They just jumped in the car. They're honking the horn, hooting and hollering. It's like, Dave's come back to life. This is going to be the best thing ever. And I was smiling and running down the road. And this was like pre-dawn. And as we finished that run and we got into the flat valley, the sun started coming up again. It got to be over 100 degrees again. I was back to hallucinating and falling down in the road again. So I thought, okay, that was it. That was my rally, right? Now we're going to finish this strong and it's going to be great. And instead I was right back where I was. Just falling down on the road, hallucinating, and I just didn't think I was going to be able to finish. I thought there was the one race that just seemed totally hopeless. So the internal struggle became, can you keep going even when there's no hope of finishing? Can you find value? Is there value in doing this outside of finishing? And I found a way to make that okay. And it's funny because I did finish. And I actually ran my fastest Badwater ever. I don't know how that happened. But when I finally got to the finish line, I was so kind of disconnected from all this that I didn't even... I mean, if my crew would have told me that they would have driven me there, I would have believed them. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even... I was standing there looking at the finish line and holding my finisher's buckle, and I'm like, I don't even know if this is real. I mean, the fucking white line had been talking to me for 10 hours. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know what to believe at this point. So that was, to me, like the ultimate thing of any experience I've ever had out running, of physical breakdown, emotional breakdown, mental breakdown, grasp of reality is gone even, and yet you still found a way to finish. And I think that's the beauty of ultra running, because that's the human journey. Right? That's what we do as human beings. We always find a way. And all I had to do was eliminate quitting. And once we do that, we find the resources. We always find the resources. And I've had so many races now where still to this day, I don't know why, I finally accepted it, that even in my best races, I have a period where I run myself into the ground. I'm dying, and then I come back to life, and I finish strong. It's like, I don't know. It's like the gods have given me that journey, and they've given it to me in my life and my racing, so I don't even fight it anymore.
On the Badwater, every single year, 40 people are invited. Is that still true?
No, they've actually increased that recently.
Okay.
I think it's up to about 90.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was just wondering how these 40 people were selected, because the one I watched was from 99.
Yeah.
So how does that selection process go down?
No one knows. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you have to apply, and you're not really applying, but you're basically letting them know that you're interested, right? And you have to have a resume. You have to have accomplishments. There's minimum standards, but if you've only accomplished the minimum standards, you have no chance of getting in. One of the things I like about it, that there's kind of this unwritten rule that you have to help another runner finish the race to get selected in. And I did that in 2010. I crewed a guy in Iso Ukra and helped him get his buckle. So you do that, you send in your application, and there's a committee. They sit down, they review all the applications, and they decide who they're going to invite. And it's kind of, behind closed doors, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it, at least that I'm aware of.
So if you had to pick...
Obviously, if they had high standards, I wouldn't have made it.
Yeah. But on a race like Badwater, with the heat, because it's always going to be hot in July...
Yep.
In Death Valley, versus the Leadville, which is at 11,000 feet.
Yeah.
That's 100 miles. I mean, what's the lesser of two evils?
It's man, like, there's always, they all have their unique personality. You know what I mean? Like, you're dealing with the heat, obviously, at Badwater. At Leadville, it's the altitude. And it's all stress to the body, right? Like, the altitude is going to affect you a different way than heat. In the altitude, you get your digestion is really hard at altitude. So it becomes this game of trying to get calories in when your body's using your blood to do other things. It's trying to transport oxygen because there's hardly any oxygen in the air. So they all have their own unique flavor. The nut shot with Leadville is that typically in a 100-mile race, where most people struggle are between like miles 40 and 60. That's the really hardest part. And that's the hardest part of the course in Leadville. That's when you go over Hope Pass up to 13,000 feet, almost 12,400 or something, back down, and then you turn around and you go back over and back down. So that you lose half the race at that section of the course, more than half. Like they just drop out, they can't make it.
You run a race like that, what's the physical toll it's taken on the body? I mean, are you just smoke for the next couple of days? I mean, because, man, the people at Badwater, well, I didn't see your race, but the people in 99, I mean, like, dude, during the days, they know they finished. I guess they do. They're kind of happy they're talking, but they're damn near gone. Some of their handlers are guiding them, where to go. They're just providing the forward motion.
Yeah.
So where is your head and then where is your body at on the back end of a race?
So for me, one of the reasons why recovery has been kind of my superpower. I don't think that I have a lot of talent when it comes to, having the highest VO2 max or the fastest marathon times, but I can recover. And that's kind of ironic in a way,
Yeah.
But I can recover. And, I ran Leadville 2 weeks after Badwater. So even my 2015 Badwater, where I struggled so bad, I came out and finished Leadville a couple weeks after that. And I've been known to do that, to stack big races on top of big races and to be able to recover well enough to do that. You are flirting with the devil, though. You know what I mean? Like you can be physically recovered, but there's general stress to the endocrine system. And I think I did see a period like last year where my performance started diminishing because of not enough recovery time, But yeah, I mean, for me, it looks different. Some people will run one 100-miler ever and be done. Some people do one a year. Very few people do 10, 12 a year.
How old are you?
I'm 46.
Okay, you're 46. As you get older, like me, I mean, I'm not going to go out and start bench pressing more than I was, last month, in 10 years. Yeah. So your performance is going to diminish just like mine with respect to the running. Will that affect you in any way, shape, or form?
No, because I'm more interested in experiencing the beauty of what's there than worrying about what's not there or what's leaving the picture. That's been the ultimate thing about my Buddhist practice, is that being present, there's always enough in life to be happy, and like it's cool because you and I were talking before we started about all the clocks you have. And I love that clocks, if not many people ever get to see your place, but I mean that the clocks are just so amazing. But time is a very human idea. Like horses and animals, they don't go, oh, this is a better day than yesterday or a worse day than yesterday. That time, we think of the past, like all of these things happened in my past. But the memories we have, those aren't like historically the way things actually happened. Those are just the way we've arranged our memories, right? So that they make sense to us. Like eyewitness testimony, right, is the least reliable because they didn't really see the crime. They can only recall their interpretation of what was happening. So the past, we know, is basically an illusion, right? And tomorrow is a promise, a never fulfilled promise. It's always if you ever lived a tomorrow, no. So everything we'll always experience in life, the only way we'll ever be able to experience anything in life is now. Whatever happens to me in the future, I will be experiencing now. So that simple concept was at the root of what eluded me for so many years, is that I always needed something other than now. Now is never enough, when the reality is now's always enough. So my approach is so different, like, hey, if I can be fast now, then I'm going to enjoy being fast now. And if I can't be fast tomorrow, then I'm going to enjoy being slow, or I'm going to enjoy different races or different terrains or whatever is there for me. It's enough. And I was telling my daughter, like, she's 16. We're looking at film schools while we're out here in LA, and kids are starting to picture what they're going to do with their futures, right? And all us adults like to tell them, what you need to do is find what you love. And then if you find what you love, you do that and you'll be happy. Bullshit. I say total bullshit on that because like what you love changes, right? Like if you pigeon yourself into like, well, we can turn anything into a job, right? Like you can say, I love Brussels sprouts. And then so I start a Brussels sprout farm. And then one day I wake up, I've created a Brussels sprouts empire. Now I fucking hate Brussels sprouts. I've like created a prison. So like, it's not about chasing what you love because you're never going to find that. It's about finding love in whatever you do. Don't do what you love. Find the love in what you do. And you can always be happy that way. Now, once you figure out how to do that, you figure out what you're passionate about. And if you can be happy doing anything and you chase what you're passionate about, game changer. Game changer. Those are people that change the world. That to me is the ultimate quest. Be happy. I can be happy no matter what, but I'm choosing to do this because it makes me feel alive.
All right, let's take a quick pause for the calls and thank another sponsor who makes this podcast possible, and that's ZipRecruiter. Listen up. Are you hiring? Are you having trouble trying to find the best candidates? Because that in itself can be tough. With ZipRecruiter, you can post your job to 100-plus job sites with just one click. Their powerful technology efficiently matches the right people to your job. In fact, over 80% of jobs posted on ZipRecruiter get a qualified candidate in just 24 hours. Simply screen, rate, and manage candidates all in one place with ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use dashboard. Find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by businesses of all sizes to find the most qualified job candidates with immediate results. For the listeners of the Steve Austin Show Unleashed, you can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/Steve to check out the service. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/Steve to try ZipRecruiter for free.
Oh, brother.
The reason it's called the NFL, not for long.
It's sports related with Jordan and Luke Rogers.
The Chargers football is not going to work in Los Angeles.
I got hit by a car on my scooter 8 days before our first game of my senior year. I was out there playing. No rib strain's going to keep me out.
JoJo, what is the last book that Jordan read?
I think he just likes to read Twitter articles.
Download new episodes of Sports Related every Friday on the PodcastOne app, Apple Podcasts, or PodcastOne.com.
This is Steve Austin Unleashed.
Hey, here's a segue. MMA.
Yeah.
Have you always been a fan?
Yes. Yeah, man, that's what's been so kind of funny about Pat and I's friendship is that, man, I sat on so many bar stools drunk off my ass watching Miletich fight, like giving guys stink eyes in the bar, like thinking I was tough. But really, I was just big. I wasn't tough, But, yeah, man, I've always been a huge fan, always been a
Well, let me ask you then, back in your 320 days, because you would get pretty out there. Were you a sloppy drunk? Were you a belligerent drunk, pig fight drunk?
I wouldn't say I was a violent drunk. I was mostly a happy drunk, but I'm a New York Irish kid, and I definitely had a big ego. And I've once heard someone describe an alcoholic as a egomaniac with an inferiority complex. That was me. You know what I mean? Like I had the biggest ego in the room, but if you pushed me the wrong way, I was going to have to go after you because like I didn't have any real confidence. It was all kind of fake. So yeah, I mean, I did get into my share of drunken brawls and got my ass kicked and kicked some ass and all that kind of stuff. But it was all, I was telling Pat that this will be my first sober fight.
Right. So how has your journey been into the MMA world?
It's been amazing, man. It's been everything that I hoped it would be and more.
How long have you been doing it?
To kind of a little less than a year. And to segue to what we were just talking about before about the journey, I think no matter what happens moving forward, no matter what happens with the actual fight, if a fight ever even happens, I mean, I'm pretty committed to making that happen, but you never know. I've gotten more out of the process than I could have hoped for because, I'm reasonably accomplished as a runner, and I get to go and like be on your show and go share my journey with other people, and along with that, there's a lot of people that say I want to be where you are. And I want to run Badwater one day. I want to do this. So I get to be standing on that side of things. Walking into MMA at 45, there's never anyone in the gym who is less experienced than me or older. So I'm the oldest and the least experienced guy. So it's been very humbling. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's something that I think maybe I was missing a little in my life, putting yourself in something that's totally new, totally vulnerable, and totally like being the student and being humbled to what everyone else is teaching you is awesome. Because we can practice that in little ways always. But that's a really big way to experience it, right? Like as you're going in there and you're nervous and guys are sparring and you've never done it before. And I absolutely loved it. And I mean, I love getting punched in the face. It makes me feel alive. I love feeling fear and not letting it control me. So just the process. And then of course, like being blessed to have like a guy like Pat holding mitts for you and getting that kind of instruction, like world-class instruction has definitely made it amazing,
Have you done with the ground stuff, the jiu-jitsu and stuff? Just because that is, man, I watch, because I've been a UFC fan forever. And so I just watch some of these guys with the level that everything is advanced to these days. Because, back in the day, I mean, it was wrestler versus puncher.
Right.
And these days, I mean, the all-around skills, it's always great to have that wrestling background, but the all-around skills are just off the chart. So with respect to jiu-jitsu, I'm thinking like, man, who were the two dudes that just hung out in a basement or this room and just thought of these different ways that they could tie each other up? And then watch this applied in a real live fight, go down to the wire. The guy's trying to do everything in the world to you, and you're able to counter and I love when Joe Rogan calls this stuff because he's just a master at it and always setting him up for this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, he is. And now I can start to see some of those things. But now you in the beginning stages, how is that going for you? Because I'm an armchair quarterback. I love it. Yeah. But now I understand a little bit of it. How is it to do it?
There's enough meat on the bone, like being a student of it for so long, my brain knows it, right? I know what it looks like.
Right.
Getting it to do it is a different thing. And some of these moves look really simple, and they're not. They're complicated. And knowing where you are, like knowing exactly how to grab someone's wrist and, whether your fingers are up or your fingers are down, because that little error is big. Mm-hmm. There's a flow for it, and I like the jiu-jitsu. I'm definitely more naturally fluent as a striker, because there's footwork involved, there's cardio's involved. I was telling Pat, like, if I had my way, we would go with like 45-minute rounds. My only, especially early on, was to just push the pace long enough to make the other guy tired. And it's not, but I would be tired too, but I'm really comfortable with being tired. Right. You know what I mean? Like I'm familiar with that space, and I notice with a lot of fighters, they're not. And that all that skill goes away and the panic rises a little bit when they're really gassed. So I would go with all the other guys who are more experienced, the wrestlers, stuff like that, and just push the pace as hard as I could. Sometimes that means I get caught. I get caught in something and I get tapped out. But other times I can get them tired enough to where even guys who are really good wrestlers, I can kind of have my way with them and push them around a little bit.
Yeah.
But the grappling has been the hardest on my body. You talked about being older and not being able to do, like, I'm in better shape than I've ever been my entire life, but that's more of a function that I was really in bad shape for most of my life. So I don't have that comparison. I don't know what the 18-year-old in shape David was like. You know what I mean? But the grappling, for whatever reason, man, it's hard. It's like going out and pushing on a dumpster as hard as you can, and then twisting the other way real quick, and then twisting the other way, and it's been it's hurt my back. I had spinal surgery in 2008, and so I've had to be cautious about that. So we're definitely leaning more towards finding me a fight with a striker, And I love boxing, and I love Muay Thai, and I like being able to be on my feet and move that. So I think if I were smart, I'd probably go the boxing route. But
are you going to try to find a fight?
Yeah, for sure. We've actually, I will call him out once again on this show, but we've been trying to get CM Punk to fight me. But I can see why he wouldn't want to fight me in his defense, because he's trying to be an actual real UFC fighter,
right? And
I'm just some knucklehead, who's trying to, So if he lost to me, like, his career would be over,
right?
And if he beat me, he's supposed to. So but what I was really I was hoping maybe we could arrange like a boxing match between him and I, because he's a straight edge guy, And obviously I represent the recovery side, and we could probably inspire some kids to stay off drugs and stuff like that, and throw some punches at each other and get something mutual out of it. But I'm going to try to fight in the cage on like the LFA card, which is Pat's calling the voice for. So that's still in the works. Still in the works.
Hey man, you mentioned Buddhism.
Yes, sir.
How did you get into that, and when?
It's been a long journey. It started as seeking out the spiritual side of recovery. And I'm not a total AA guy. I believe in AA. I went to AA. AA helped me, but I don't believe it's the only way. But I do believe, like we said way earlier, that you have to have a spiritual component. So I explored all kinds of different spirituality, and I believe in the concept of God and a higher power for sure. And I was confused about Buddhism for a long time because I thought it was kind of a religion, and it's really not. It's a practice. There's room to be a Christian and a Buddhist. There's room to be Jewish and a Buddhist, or believe in any God you want. Buddhism is more the practice of life and how to find peace and happiness and let go. And so that was very appealing to me. But it, I believe that Buddhism, like, the quest is not to become a good Buddhist. Learning Buddhism is going to make you be better at whatever it is you already do. A better father, a better runner, a better dad. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be a great Buddhist. I'm just trying to use the practice of Buddhism to help me in the other areas of my life. And it does that because, when the real culminating event, when I really found, when it really made sense to me, was actually when I got divorced. And, I was sober 7 years at that point. So, 5 years, 6 years sober. So I had a lot of time on my feet. I was pretty grounded, but I didn't expect that to happen. And when it happened, it was really easy for me to forgive myself for all the shitty things I did as an addict. It's hard for me to forgive myself for not being better as a sober guy. And so when my wife and I got divorced, it really created, kind of a split. It made me think that like I had this idea of where my life was going to go. I'm sober, my marriage is saved, we're going to live happily ever after, kids are going to come home and visit us, and all of this kind of ideas. And then as life does, took it away. And so I found myself in this place where I was not just sad. It's sad when a long-term relationship ends. That's normal. But I was mourning the loss of a future that was never meant to be. And that to me is really what Buddhism teaches us, that all things are impermanent, that we can change the future, but we can't control it. And sometimes we think it's supposed to be orchestrated a certain way, and then when it doesn't, we feel the loss of that future that was never going to happen. And that's worse than the loss itself. You know what I mean? It's worse than actually losing your partner, is that I lost this whole future. I lost the next 30 years, and I lost 40 years. And that's, I think, what really messes us up. So Buddhism helped me put that in perspective, a really major life event, and I realized it applied in other smaller areas too.
Man, it's a really dumb question, but here's how little or nothing I know about Buddhism. How do you practice it? What do you do? Do you read something? Yeah, so the Buddhism is based on, and you'll see why this made sense to me as an addict. Buddhism is based on the most basic tenet of Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths are, one, that there's suffering in the world. We have to accept that, right? Bad things happen. It's there. And really, it's not like people are under the impression that they don't happen, but the first step is just really being aware of it. Like, this makes sense as an addict, right? Going, hey, my life's fucked up. I'm suffering. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm hurting everybody. I'm hurting me. I have to accept that. And that's the first step of Buddhism. So the second step is that you are the cause of your suffering. And this is a really tough one for people, especially addicts. Right. Like, what do you mean? Like, I lost my business. I lost this. I lost all these people. But you are creating the suffering. Like, the fact that, using the example we were just talking about, that my marriage ended, that wasn't creating the suffering. What was creating the suffering is my attachment to that future that I thought I had. I was creating suffering because, like, I was supposed to have this, and now it's gone. So it's realizing that if you're angry, if you're happy, if you're successful, if you're unsuccessful, whatever it is, you are the issue there.
and that there's more for you or less for you, and you're in control of that. I'm a very compassionate human being, but I'm a libertarian human being. I believe that we have to take responsibility for ourselves. So that made sense to me in Buddhism too. And the third thing is there is suffering in the world, that you cause the suffering. And the third thing is there's a way to end it. And that's a really important thing to accept, that you can literally end suffering in your life. We talked about one of your signs here that I like that says no bad days. You don't ever have to have a bad day. You don't have to keep using drugs and alcohol. You don't have to be miserable. You don't have to live the life you don't want to live. You can change it. Buddhism teaches that too. And then the way to change that, number 4, is that the Eightfold Path. And basically what the Eightfold Path means is just living an authentic life. Not projecting more than you are, not trying to control what other people are thinking, but letting things just be real. Not trying to I was always needed to control what people said or thought. I was the king of calling someone back and go, I know what you were thinking and I need you to think something different. You know what I mean? Just letting things be the way they are. Working really hard to make the best life you want, but understanding that you ultimately don't have any control over what other people do and say. And that's really the basic shell of it. And you can see why that made sense to me. And it's brought peace in my life, really exploring that. And I think some of those things were already in place for me in terms of how I saw the world, but understanding them and how they fit into Buddhism, brought me into a happier place.
Straight out of South Texas, there's a Bible for Christianity. What is there for Buddhism?
The teaching of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths, or the Eight Noble Truths, the Four Noble Truths, and the Eightfold Path. There isn't really a religious document. There's Dharma.
Okay, dude, I've heard of you because I hear this celebrity or that person or whatever. Yeah. You, as a Buddhist, okay, I don't know anything about it. I've heard it, I just don't know anything about it.
Yeah, I think what put me off on it at first, honestly, was the concept of non-attachment. That's a big thing in Buddhism. That seemed cold to me, like not being attached. But I was confusing detachment with non-attachment. If I'm detached, I just don't give a shit.
Right.
If I'm non-attached, it means, well, I still love you, but I'm not trying to control you. I'm going to let you do your own thing. I'm going to let you live your own life and not project myself into it.
God dang. Here's a question. I talked about it when we first started. In a line of work that I was in, pro wrestling, you get a lot of guys who are blue chip athletes, football players, whatever. And you get some guys that are out there to begin with. Yeah. No pun intended. But, they're in this business of wrestling and athletic competition. The end is predetermined, but it's athletic competition. And I thought I was a professional athlete, travel all over the world, and through that lifestyle end up being drug addicts. Yeah. A lot of alcoholics. A lot of guys don't rebound. A lot of guys don't come back. A lot of guys have met their demise and OD'd. In my short research of ultra running, it seems like, you do have premier athletes that just start running, and that's what they've evolved into, was the longer distances called ultra running from the marathons or whatever the collegiate days were. But it also seems like there's a high amount of addicts or former addicts that gravitate towards that. And as you were talking to Rich Roll, y'all were kind of on that subject of you're trading one addiction for another.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to go down that road. You went down it with Rich. But what is the deal there with people who seem to be, or it's not, I don't want to make a blanket statement and just say, everybody who ultra runs used to be an addict. But there is a number of people that come from that world.
Yeah, I think just like there's kind of a stereotype, if you will, of what the fighter is. Like Pat and I were talking about how they tend to have the same types of backgrounds, the same types of childhoods, the same types of things that led them to fighting. I think your standard ultra runner model, they're seekers, and they're not, a lot of that is actual addiction, but it's other stuff. It might be something else that's causing them to want to seek something inside themselves. They want to put themselves in a tough situation for no other reason than to see how they're going to respond, because there's no TV, there's no money. The first race I ever won, I got a protein shake. That was my prize, and an invitation to buy an entry to the race next year.
Yeah.
So there's no glamour. There's no nothing like that external validation. It's a very internal experience. So your ultra runners, anything that draws out that kind of experience or offers that kind of experience is going to draw addicts to it, right? Like, because it's extreme in nature, and you're going to have to confront yourself. And I think the journey of recovery, if it's anything, it's that. It's for the first time being willing to look in the mirror and say, who am I? Instead of projecting to the world who I want them to think I am, I'm curious, who am I? And for an addict, that's big. That's big. But yeah, there's a lot of us out there.
So how much longer are you in Los Angeles?
We're actually going to the airport as soon as we leave here, man.
What's next for you? And I want to talk about your website, your Twitter account.
Okay.
I know you're on Instagram.
Yep.
Talk about places where people can find you. And before we shut down, out there, a story of ultra recovery, man, I'd recommend to any human being that just wants a damn good read with some damn good life lessons, whether you're a drug addict or not, or just someone who's heavy. I love the book. It was awesome.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Yeah, I'd like to think that my story, not everyone needs to lose 160 pounds. Not everyone's going to want to run Badwater. But within that extreme, my life is an extreme case study. But within that kind of template is the tools needed, or what the process looks like of change. That's what I try to create with the book. What did it feel like internally, breaking down where I was and becoming something totally new? And I think that the reason I'm very proud, happy that the book's done so well. It's been a bestseller in many different categories. I never expected that. But I think that's not a reflection of me as much as it is a reflection that human beings instinctively know they're capable of more. They're selling themselves short, and that there is a better version of ourselves out there. So that's what I'd recommend the book for. That's why I have the Twitter handle, We Are Superman. That's my Instagram handle. That's my website, wearesuperman.com. I think if I do a poor job telling my story, someone's going to walk away saying, wow, that guy's an awesome athlete. And if I do a really good job telling my story, they're going to go, shit, I can do anything if I set my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
But you got to commit to doing it.
There ain't no easy way.
No.
There are no magic tricks. That's it. Like that's full circle. That's what we talked about. That's the essence of the addict, right? Is like, stop looking for the easy way out. Accept it. Fight. You're stronger than you think you are. Ken Clover. You can do it.
God damn it, that guy's awesome.
Oh, he's amazing.
You think you ending up in the state of Colorado was kind of a predestiny to put you where you are now?
I have no choice but to believe that.
I think certain things happened in my career just because I could have screwed everything up, or just certain things happen along the way for just incidences, just things that happen, opportunities that happen after I had everything against me and never got a break.
Yeah.
Whether it was politics or bureaucratic red tape or whatever, but then things just fell in line. It's like, when I look back, if those things hadn't happened, I wouldn't have ended up where I ended up. And yours is a whole different story, but I'm just talking about one different location. But it seems like a lot of people just from the world, the story where you go to the shoe store to get your first pair of running shoes is a classic. But anyway, just a final observation.
Yeah, no, for sure, man.
Do you believe in stuff like that?
I do, man. I do. I believe the universe is way smarter than we think. That I don't believe everything's predetermined.
No. I'm not saying that.
No, I know, but I definitely believe that. I have a saying in running, like, the mountain gives us what we need. And sometimes you need to get your ass kicked running the hill, and sometimes you need to fly up that thing and feel great, and everything in between. So, and I think the universe is the same way. Like, that the beautiful thing about the universe is that we always find what we're looking for. In the most literal sense you can think of. This table is not real. It's spinning particles, right? Everything is not real. We always see what we perceive to be real. And that's true in the real world, and it's true in the spiritual world. And I think that when we allow ourselves to let that unfold for us, we find we're always in the right place at the right time.
You got a race coming up?
I think I'm going to be doing the Javelina 100.
Where's that?
That's in Arizona. But the big race is a race called the Barkley Marathons that I'm training for in April. That'll be the main thing. But This is the first year I haven't run 100 miles since 2010. So if it's there for me, I'm going to go do it. And if it's not, that'll be okay too.
Man, it's good talking to you.
It's good talking to you, man. It's been awesome.
All right, everybody, give me the go home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. But before I do, I've got to give you guys something to watch. And I'm going to tell you, you got something to watch if you set your DVRs like I've been telling you to set your DVRs for the last month. Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge on CMT. Go back and check that son of a bitch out. This show is going to be on television for the next 12 weeks. Tuesdays, 10, 9 Central, only on CMT. If you haven't set your DVR yet, or you forgot, or you didn't know I had a show, set your DVR right here, right now on CMT, 10, 9 Central. This season is absolutely going to blow your doors off. I guarantee you. So check it out. Hey, all those badass shirts that I'm wearing on this season of Broken Skull Challenge, you can find them all at ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin. They got every single shirt I wore on all the previous seasons, and they got all the shirts on this season. So check it out. The best damn IPA on the planet. If you're thirsty from watching Broken Skull Challenge, drink some Broken Skull IPA. It's from El Segundo Brewing Company. It's the best IPA in the United States of America, and if you don't think so, well, I guess that's your opinion. I was going to say I'd kiss your ass, but I ain't kissing nobody's ass. You can find Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California. If they ain't got it, go up to the manager and ask them why the fuck they ain't got it. If you don't live in Cali, check out InsideTheCellar.com and see if they ship to your state. Don't tell me it's higher than giraffe's pussy either. They got to put a little bit of money on top of that bottle, and then they got to ship it to you. That's why it's so goddamn expensive. Nonetheless, try to get out here to California and get you something fresh from the tap. Stop by the brewery at 140 Main Street in El Segundo, California. Come out of LAX, hang a left, you're 4 miles from a badass beer. If you're looking to get either the Steve Austin Cold Steel Broken Skull knife or the Working Man knife, you can get them at my new Amazon store. Amazon has the best price on both knives. Just go to Amazon.com/shop/Steve Austin. And I got to say one more thank you to all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show. That's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. You can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page and then click on the Steve Austin Show banner. And speaking of Podcast One, the new Podcast One app is now available for download at the App Store or Google Play. There ain't another single podcast app like this sumbitch anywhere, and that's because the new Podcast One app is loaded with some cool features that lets you do a lot more than just listen to your favorite shows. Shit, you can access behind-the-scenes photos, articles, and connect with other fans of the shows you like. And you can watch over 1,000 360 virtual reality videos. You can actually watch some of your favorite shows in virtual reality. It's like you're sitting right there in the same room with them while they're doing a podcast. So get to the App Store or Google Play and download the new Podcast One app now. Folks, if you want to follow me on social media, you can. I am on Twitter and I am on Instagram at Steve Austin BSR. Folks, until next time, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.